And just, Tim, I was going to ask you some questions on, as I was looking at this presentation, we got a little bit off the subject matter in regards to what you presented. So I'm very clear that then the question of the quad across the way, that will be done. It appears you're saying it'll be done by the end of this year. This year is coming to a close very quickly. I know that's been an issue for many people. There have been issues with that are really sometimes out of our control, but so we can expect is it proper to say quad, but the open space across the way, that is expected where we can actually have students walk across by the end of this year?
Yes, we're anticipating the construction to be completed by the end of the year, although we are having issues with the contractor, and he is being monitored very closely at this point.
Right. And that's been a problem in the past on it. I can only say that as looking at this, and I appreciate all the different buildings that have taken place. Unfortunately, it's like alphabet soup when you go through all the, the BB, the CC, the QQ, the RR, the E, that's all PCC, and then you have at LAC, you have the BBA, GG, and of course, don't forget Building T, which is over there. By the way, Building T is a design build. So on time, under budget, it's not on us. The same thing was done with the parking structure, and that was constructed, it was a design build concept. Yeah. So it's a little bit different format than what we had in others, and we're doing that. You're seeing that more and more common with, and especially here. So, and then with the new building, the nursing building that we just started. So there's a lot of things going on. I just want to comment that when I arrived here as a board member in 2002, I said that this college campus had not changed physically since I was a student, and unfortunately that was 3 decades prior. And that is not, not a good comment. So to see what's taken place since 2002, and then to full circle, the fact that we do have bond oversight, we do have internal auditors, it's a question of there's been issues. Probably the most challenging building was the one we're sitting in right now, because this is a very complex building because it has a lot of multiple uses, from office spaces to classrooms to labs to this room. And I know we had some issues there with contractors, and when the economy was extremely bad, as we have found, contractors have a tendency to disappear as well because they're struggling. So there's a lot of challenges to when you manage a bond of this magnitude, but I don't want anyone to leave here again thinking that in cases of other community college districts there was tremendous issues with their construction projects. These projects here, from our internal audit to the fiscal oversight that we've had with our Citizen Oversight Committee and others, it's been remarkable what we've done during the changing times and how this campus has physically changed for the better, and for that I'm very proud of. So to go back, I have no desire to go back to 2002. I know that there was a lot of projects, including the athletic field, which that athletic field is now reaching really the end of the back end of its life for artificial surfaces, the baseball field, the chiller, all those things we went through. So there's for whatever reason, I'm comfortable with the process we have on overseeing and making sure these projects have been done and completed, and it really has made a difference for our students more than anyone else. But for me personally, people that see this college or drive by, they're amazed by how these 2 campuses has transformed. From especially the PC campus that used to be a middle school in the city of Long Beach with lockers in the hallways, and to see what's going on there is really, really impressive, and I'm very proud of what's taken place. So, nice presentation, and I look forward to the next opening. Chair recognizes Trustee Baxter.
Thank you. That was one thing I kind of wanted to piggyback on with President Kellogg, is probably I get more comments about how good both campuses look more than anything else, because it's something visual and people can see the end product. So I'm very proud of the work that you're doing, and I appreciate your presentation.
Thank you very much.
All right, other comments, members of the board at this time?
I have another question.
Isaiah?
Who's managing our bond money? Is it internally done, or is it a hybrid of us versus a staff augmentation team? And
we manage the bond money completely ourselves.
Okay, so the Cordoba Corporation, what do they do? Is it just the construction management?
Cordoba Corporation is the project and program manager.
Okay,
we manage
great.
all the finances.
Okay, great. Thank you. And the Citizens Advisory Committee that President Kellogg mentioned, are they financial people?
They include, they're required by, the Prop 39, I keep forgetting now, and it requires specific constituents to be represented. And yes, there are financial people with financial backgrounds on that committee, including representatives from taxpayer associations, and they also receive a financial audit and a performance audit.
Thank
Other
you.
questions, members of the board? Thanks, Tim. All right, thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Good job. That concludes the,
Wait. Jeff, we still have the procurement process.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Pulling
No
down
worries.
that.
Thank
Oh, the
you.
important part.
President Kellogg, I mean.
Thank you. So I will briefly discuss.
I've actually been waiting for this.
Yeah, this part is really, this is really
This is the
exciting.
exciting stuff, isn't it? But this is how we got to all those projects that Tim was describing. So I'm going to discuss the limits, the thresholds, and the codes, and then I'll go into a little bit more detail as to our process. Most everything that we do is government by public contract code, government code, or ed code. But for equipment, materials, supplies, and services, excluding those professional services or construction services, the bid limit is set at $83,400, and that's adjusted annually. We have some internal processes that we use, though. So anything below $15,000, we'll do a minimum of one quote. But everything from $15,000 up to the bid limit, we'll do pre-written quote. And we have that outlined in our purchasing manual. And as I mentioned, the bid limit at $83,400, we will do a formal bid process, and I'll describe that in a little bit. For construction services, we adopted the CUPCA, which is the California Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act, in October of 2012. What that did was raised the bid limit for public works projects from $15,000 to $45,000, and also instituted an informal bid process and a formal bid process with associated thresholds. We work very closely with facilities and the bond management team as far as when the estimates for these construction projects are brought to us, so we know which threshold to follow. If we are anywhere near the next threshold, we will go ahead and do the informal or the formal bid process. For professional services, items as I had listed on the last slide, accounting, financial, insurance, architecture, administrative matters, we are not required to do a process. We may do a process. So we've outlined the process that we use. We do a request for qualifications if it's going to either shortlist some consultants or if we're going to do a pre-qualified list. Types of services we would do for this would be our architect, our engineer, our geotechnical investigation services, construction materials testing, IOR, move services, those kind of things we've used this for. What we do is we send out the request, we receive the statements, they're evaluated based on their qualifications, their experience, their fee schedule. We refer to industry standards and guidelines. If we need to, we'll conduct interviews. The evaluation committee consists of not only the contract management or purchasing staff, but also facilities, bond management, or the appropriate department. For requests for proposals, that's when we have a more defined scope of work or a particular project. We will send out the request for proposals with that defined scope of work. We receive the sealed proposals. We open them at a designated time, and we evaluate them on their qualifications, again, their experience, and the total cost of their proposal. We'll refer to industry standards and guidelines. We may ask them to do presentations. Again, the evaluation committee would consist of the department that's going to utilize their services. In most construction matters, it will be facilities, the bond management team, as well as members from the contracts management or purchasing staff. To the public works part of it. So for the formal bid process, for those projects that have an estimate of $175,000 or more, the scope is developed usually by an architect. We put the bid documents together. The advertisement is placed in the press telegram, and notices are placed at the with the contractors' boards. We also send out invitations of bid to all of our registered contractors. We conduct a job walk, and we have a deadline for pre-bid inquiries. When those are received, with the assistance of the architect, we will answer the questions and send it out via an addendum to all the bidders. We receive the bids in sealed envelopes, and we conduct a public opening. The bids are evaluated for responsiveness, a notice of intent is issued, and then the bid protest period of 5 days begins. Then we send it to the board for award. For the informal bidding process, the CUPCA, we need to notify, we place notices at appropriate contractor and specific trade journals. That's coming up in November. The board, when they authorized us to utilize CUPCA, they delegated the Vice President of Administrative Services to enter into those informal bid agreements, and then we take them back for ratification. All bidders have to register with us via our website, and it's according to their licenses. So anytime that we have a project that needs to go out to bid, we will contact the registered bidders. You know, if it's a B or an A license, a C12, whatever we're calling for, we notify all of them. Another option we have, not for public works, but for more equipment and material supplies, is the piggyback option. Public Contract Code allows us to use other public agencies' bids if in their bid it was allowable to do a piggyback agreement. We have to adhere to the same terms and conditions, though. Some related programs that we have for our bond construction program, we have a pre-qualification program that was adopted by the board back in 2004. The threshold for that is for any project above $3.5 million. Its basis is the average of a single project bonding capacity and the largest project completed for which a reference was satisfactory. The Solis Group conducts our pre-qualification process for us. We also have a labor compliance program, and that was adopted by the board in 2005. We use that for non-state funded construction projects with an estimate of $400,000 and above. Again, that is administered by the Solis Group. We also have an owner-controlled insurance program that was approved by the board in 2002. We belong to the statewide educational wrap-up program, JPA. It's administered by Keenan and Associates, and as a rule, we use that for construction projects with an estimated construction value of $2 million and above. So SB 854, even though there's changes upcoming, some of them have been put into place. But what it does is it modifies how the DIR is going to monitor prevailing wage requirements on public works projects. So currently, our duty is to notify the DIR whenever we're awarding a contract for public works by submitting PWC 100 form. Some changes to the program is that they instituted a public works contractor registration program. So as of July 1st, all contractors and subcontractors that want to work on public works need to register with that site and pay a $300 fee to the DIR. Starting March 1st, no contractor or subcontractor can be listed on a bid proposal for public work unless they have registered with the DIR. And then April 1st, they aren't allowed to work on any. What we're doing to implement these changes is our legal counsel is updating our bid documents. Staff has been attending various seminars and workshops to get up to date on the processes. We will start March 1st. If not beforehand, we will start looking at all of our bids and making sure that those contractors and subs are listed on the website. So just a little bit about what we've completed. There's been 151 public work bids conducted since 2004. There have been no findings with our annual performance and financial audit since 2008. All of that work that Tim discussed, all of those projects, all flow through the Purchasing Contracts Management Office. Know that when a building goes up, it's not just a contractor, it's not just an architect, it's not just an IOR, but the furniture, the window coverings, the floor mats, the trash cans, all of that needs to be procured, and all of that's handled by our staff, and they do a tremendous job. Thank you.
All right, questions, members of the board?
I have a
This time,
question.
Chair recognizes trustee Zia.
Well, first of all, thank you, Margie, for such a great job. It sounds like you guys have a lot of responsibilities and just a few people to do it. So I really honor you and value your commitment to this district. A couple of questions as far as the construction projects. I noticed that in our item, and I've seen it before, and according to the public contract code as well, the lowest responsible bidder gets the contract.
The
Is that
lowest responsible bidder.
well, I see here it says responsible. To the lowest responsible bidder. My understanding is that to the lowest responsible bidder who has the lowest responsive bid. That's the PCC section,
Right.
Public Contract Code section. The question I had was, do we have a mechanism to determine responsibility of the contractors? I've looked at that section of the law. It seems a little abstract, but I wanted to see if we as an organization have codified certain measures to, determine responsibility of the contractors.
Sure. When the bidders submit their bid, there is a statement of qualifications that attached that list their history of the last 2 years, the number of projects that they've completed, the number of projects, public works project. They have to list references. They have to list if they've ever been terminated from a project. So we do look at all of that and evaluate that, and we do check on references.
Okay, great. I also wanted to ask you about your page 27. So you listed, I'll go to page 26 first, 10% for change orders. It says change orders are restricted to 10% of the contract value.
Okay.
So what happens if we need to go over the 10% of...
That portion of the work would be removed, and we would bid it out.
I see. Okay, great. And then the following page, when you're going into the RFQ and RFP process, thank you for giving some examples, by the way, that really helps. Do you set up a contract for the RFQs, or is it just do you generate a pre-qualified list prior to issuing the RFQ? And if you do that, how do you come up with the pre-qualified list?
Okay. So what we do is when we send out our requests for qualifications and our documents that indicate what we're seeking. For example, if it's an architect, we would detail, what our bond program is, or what our construction program is, or what future projects would look like, and what our minimum qualifications might be. For example, our insurance qualifications, that we expect that they have. Perhaps we would expect that they have community college experience or DSA experience or anything like that. We would list that out. Not only do we ask them to tell us about their experience, but we will also attach a draft contract. So they will know what they are committing to when they submit their statement of qualifications. We do not have a pre-qualified list done before that. We're waiting to see who's going to submit. And then for example, when we did the architect RFQ process 5 years ago, and as we have indicated in the past that we are getting ready to do that again, we got 60 submissions. So all of those are reviewed, and then they're shortlisted, and then further shortlisted. Then we come up with the list. They don't necessarily get a contract right off the bat. We select from that list, and perhaps we might even further ask 3 of them to give us proposals. Or we might look at to what their specific experience is, if they have what we're looking for. Perhaps if we were going to do a library and this particular architect has a lot of experience with libraries, then we would, look
I
at them.
see. And is the pre-qualified list valid for a certain term? Let's say somebody wants to, let's say we do generate a pre-qualified list and somebody didn't know about the RFQ at the time. Will they be allowed to present their proposal throughout the year to make it on the list, or is there a closing period?
There's a closing period. We would take the ones that we have, and we would establish that for whatever time frame that we might need it for. Typically, we go 5 years, but if we've gone through all of them, or for whatever reason, I mean, we just went through a recession. Some of the architects that are on our previous list are no longer in business. So for whatever reason, if we need to do the process sooner, we will do it sooner. But no, we don't. It's not an ongoing process. The exception for that would be our CUPCA and our registration for contractors. We leave that open all of the time.
And then the pre-qualified list is valid for a certain period of time?
Usually 5 years,
I see, okay. And then,
or until we need to reestablish it again.
I gotcha. And do you, have you had any circumstances where contractors and consultants have protested about our process, that they would want to have the opportunity to compete before the 5-year period is up, or for whatever reason, have we had protesters come before us and challenge that process?
No, usually if we get inquiries about wanting to do work here, we let them know where we are in the process, and that we will notify them when we're ready to do the process again, and we follow up, and we do.
Okay, and do we, you mentioned about the experience requirements for the responsibility determination. Do we also look at the financial stability and viability of each firm that is going to do business with us, just, so that they don't go insolvent? I know some community colleges, as was mentioned earlier, went through that process of, contractor walking off the project, or slanted buildings completely. We won't name names, but do we look at their financial history and background?
Through the pre-qualification process for those projects, 3.5 million and above, yes, their financials are looked at. That is a financial pre-qualification.
And what kind of system do you use for financial determination, just to deem them financially sound?
Well, they review, again, it's administered by the Solis Group, but they review their financial statements, they look at their bonding capacity, and they check their references.
Okay, and how the Solis Group was competitively selected?
They have been on board for a little while. I can't tell you exactly when they came on board, but I'm sure.
When we requested proposals for labor compliance as well as outreach, there were several proposals that we received at that time, and the Solis Group was selected.
And what's the term of their contract? How long is it for?
Their next contract goes until, I believe, June 30th, 2015.
What was the first one?
I'd have to look and get back to you on that.
That would be great. Thank you. That's all I have. Thanks.
Other members, any questions at this time? Thank you very much then.
I just want to say thank you, Margie.
Sure.
I know your office is shorthanded, and you're really doing the work of a lot of people, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
There's a lot of process to it that we're not making fun of you personally, but it is not a simple process for community colleges, higher education, with all the different hoops you have to jump through. And maybe perhaps I was hearing questions and realizing that we have 3 new board members. I know we did a session one time to explain the different delivery systems that you can choose. For example, to say that we're going to take the lowest bid, sometimes that is not what you want, because with the lowest bid comes potentially some problems. So there are multiple ways, and I mentioned earlier about design build, where all the risk is really put on the builder and not on the college. But maybe it's an appropriate time in the near future for us to schedule another of those to explain to everyone what exactly the multiple types of systems you can utilize as a college on construction projects, because it's just not a simple design, it's just not a simple low bid. And we've talked about those in the past. So anyway, thank you very much. If there's no other members, thank you very much.
I would support that, President Kellogg.
Chair recognizes trustee Zia.
No, I just wanted to echo your comments that I think it's a good idea to have a sequel to this presentation about the delivery method of contracting, the different delivery methods. So we're all familiar with the type of vehicles we use and when we use them.
Can I ask a question? Excuse me, trustees, yeah, are you saying that we're going to have a future presentation?
No, I'm just saying that it's something we should talk about possibly doing. I don't know when we even did the last one, but
That was about a year and a half ago.
I know we do them periodically just to explain, and sometimes we even roll it into when we have the Citizen Oversight Committee to come forward. So it's just, and it's not a very long presentation, but it does explain to people. A lot of times they don't understand that it's not just simply, and quite frankly, most people don't even probably realize Building T is a design build, which is very different than what's taking place across the street on some of those projects. Anyway, thank you very much for the presentation. There is no items for the Pacific Coast Campus or the College Advancement and Economic Development, correct?
That's correct.
Reports, communications. Chair recognizes the Academic Senate President. Ms. Gain,
No report.
thank you. Superintendent President?
Yes, I just have a few updates. I'll try to go through them quickly for the sake of time. First of all, I want to thank the entire college campus for pulling everything together that we pulled together for the site evaluation team for our accreditation. Everyone did a fabulous job. I want to personally thank Dr. Eva Bagg and Dr. Jeff Wheeler for co-chairing the entire self-evaluation process. They did a fabulous job and worked very hard for the better part of 18 to 24 months, so I just want to thank them again for all of their hard work, and we look forward to the results in late January. I also want to recognize all the folks in our economic development area as well as our career technical education areas. We were recently recognized with the Entrepreneurial College of the Year Award from NACE, the National Association of Community College Entrepreneurship. So we're very thankful and proud for that recognition. Coming up on Friday is the Hall of Fame ceremony where we induct 5 new members into the Hall of Fame. Dr. Baxter and the foundation do a wonderful job, so we look forward to that event on Friday. As Trustee Zia mentioned, we had a wonderful ceremony recently to expand the Long Beach College Promise and include the mayor of Long Beach and the entire city government as part of the College Promise now, and we look forward to working with them to continue to expand opportunities for all the children in Long Beach. I also want to recognize our executive VP. She was recently appointed by the Secretary of Commerce, Penny Pritzker, to serve on the National Advisory Council on Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Again, a testament to the great work that's going on at the college and a great recognition of Luann's leadership. Some other bit of good news. We all know that we've been leading the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, the Southern California version. Recently, Gary Cohn, the COO and president of Goldman Sachs, was here in LA to announce that they're giving us an additional $5 million to keep the program going forward, and this is in addition to the $20 million that they pledged from the beginning. So we're proud to continue that program and look forward to continuing to work with Goldman Sachs. I also want to recognize the work of our student support services folks and all the faculty who support our veterans. We were recently recognized as a military-friendly campus, and that's something I take personally because we have a wonderful group of returning vets who are coming back to Long Beach City College after serving their country, and so I want to thank all the staff and the faculty who have supported our veterans, and we wish them the greatest success possible for all their sacrifices. Just a few more. I want to welcome back Karen Kane, our Academic Senate President. I think we were working her a little too hard. I'm just glad that she looks healthy again and is back to work. So welcome back, Karen. And then finally, I want to recognize the work of the district and faculty union negotiating teams. We recently signed off on a tentative agreement, so we're very hopeful that the tentative agreement will be accepted and ratified by our faculty, full-time faculty, and then I look forward to bringing it to the board for their approval. So again, I want to thank the hard work of our negotiating teams, and in particular our lead negotiators, Bob Maxell and Cindy Viscachel. Thank you for your hard work. And that's all I have.